Stephen King, when you talk to Stephen Major about this yield move, is it for real or do we get a major reversal?
Well, oddly enough, Steve published a note just overnight which was talking about some of this, and he emphasizes very strongly that supply issues of the kind that people, I think, are worrying about in the US, i.e., more in the way of fiscal stimulus, more in the way of Treasury issuance. Actually, there's not much evidence to suggest that supply issues drive what happens with regard to interest rates. So although yields have risen in a kind of knee-jerk reaction over the course of the last few hours, understandably perhaps because of this kind of blue wall coming through in the US, the reality is we've already been through massive fiscal stimulus over the last 12 months, not just in the US, but also elsewhere in the world. And for the most part, bond yields have remained extremely low. Now, of course, there is an extra sort of twist in the US, which is that we have a Federal Reserve encountering a Treasury, which will be run by someone who used to be running the Federal Reserve. And it's also the case that Janet Yellen has been very, very clear in suggesting that we should have more in the way of fiscal stimulus and less reliance on monetary stimulus alone, which is probably true. But at the same time, when you have activity at these very depressed levels, I think there's a reasonable chance that yields remain low throughout. I mean, think of Japan over the last 20 or 30 years, massive increases in government debt, massive increases in government debt as a share of GDP, yields at absolutely rock bottom.